What's going on, guys? In today's video, I'll be going over key steps you can take to win more fights and always keep the upper hand on your opponent in Fortnite. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. One extremely common mistake I see players making is they never let their opponent. You always want to be tracking exactly where your opponent is through builds at all times during the fight. If you're not doing this, you're letting your opponent get the upper hand on you by knowing exactly where you are while you don't know where the opponent is. This makes it easy for them to sneak up and just clean you while you can't see them. Another thing I see people do is always assume they know exactly where the opponent is. A lot of times, you just don't know where the opponent is, and that's okay. All you gotta do is just make a quick box and just look around and listen for the opponent. If you don't know where they are, just assume they're everywhere. The opponent is there, the opponent's there, the opponent's absolutely everywhere around you. Just check every angle. Another thing I see beginners do a lot is they focus too much on speed when they're building. You just want to be nice and slow and make sure that your crosshair placement is on point on every edit. If you look, you can notice in this rebuild how my crosshair is barely moving at all, but I'm making all these quick edits because my left hand is working overtime while my right hand is just relaxing. Notice in that triple edit how I barely moved my mouse at all, but because I had good crosshair placement, it still ended up perfect. Here's exactly what you should not be doing. See how slow and inconsistent it is? It's not worth it at all. Another tip I have is always be sure to implement side jumps into your gameplay. If you learn how to do a simple sprint side jump like this with a cone over your head, you're completely blocked off from your opponent, and it's really good for you to take height. This move is pretty hard to mess up if you have it down. And there you go. You can just keep doing it over and over again and get the upper hand of your opponent. Another really important move is to be able to place high walls like this. You can be above your opponent and take high ground very easily. These high walls just let you ascend layers really quickly, and they don't really let your opponent do anything because your opponent's always going to be struggling. Another tip I have is a lot of beginners, all they do is they just try and edit as much as they can and build, when in reality, all you really need to do is shoot your opponent. For example, you could try to do all this editing like this, and you'll still just get sprayed in like with your AR because you're too focused on all the edits. You need to focus on where the opponent is, like I said before, and how to shoot them. One more thing you need to be aware about is edit timing. If you make a wide edit like this, you get pumped. But when pros do it, they don't. How do they do this? Well, they just look at their opponent. They're always looking at their opponent and seeing if they have their pickaxe out. If your opponent has your pickaxe out like this, they're completely lost, and they're not ready for you to make this wide edit and pump them in the face. That's why wide edits are so good. They force the opponent to take a fight. These right hand peeks, they give the opponent a lot of time to make cover and hide behind to not take the fight. When you're approaching boxes, you never want to be approaching from the left side. You'll always see pros approaching it from this right side instead of going here. This side gives your opponent a much better angle on you, and it lets them get their hand peek instead. If you're in this box, you always want to be holding this wall so that your opponent doesn't take it. And when you're fighting your opponent in this box across, you always want to be going for this wall right here and taking it. Basically, you want to take this wall and defend this wall. Take this wall and defend this. That'll be all for the tips. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I have many more tips to come. Bye-bye.